Look, let's be honest. For the longest time, we treated the global economy and global security like two separate, equally boring TV channels. On one, you had people in suits talking about interest rates and supply chains. On the other, people in different, more expensive suits talking about missile defense systems and geopolitical flashpoints. You could flip between them. But now, it seems someone has mashed the remote, and we're stuck on a terrifying high-stakes reality show where a decision about a microchip in Taiwan can cause a banking crisis in London, which affects whether a drone gets funded in Washington. It's a dizzying, interconnected mess, and it's happening right now, on this very day, June 24th, 2025. The old rules have been thrown out the window, set on fire, and the ashes used to fertilize a very strange, very thorny plant called securonomics. Every headline you see today is a symptom of this new world order. We're seeing a global landscape where safety risks and economic opportunities are no longer distant cousins. They are conjoined twins, sharing a circulatory system. A tremor in one sends a jolt through the other. Countries, especially the big players like the United States, are no longer just thinking about their armies or their stock markets. They're thinking about how their armies can protect their stock markets, and how their stock markets can fund their armies. It's a feedback loop from hell, or if you're a defense contractor, from heaven. This isn't some abstract academic theory. It's the lived reality for governments and corporations alike. Take a simple business decision like where to build a new factory. A decade ago, the main question was, where is labor cheapest? Now the question is a frantic, multi-part panic attack. Is this country politically stable? Are its neighbors stable? Is it friendly with our country's friends? Is it likely to get hit with sanctions? Can we even get our stuff out if a conflict starts? Suddenly, your company's chief financial officer needs the same security clearance as a junior CIA analyst, just to figure out where to source screws. And this fusion of security and economics is accelerating at a breakneck pace. We are in an era of focused risk. The dangers aren't vague anymore. They are specific, targeted, and immediate. And in response, the flow of money and power is becoming equally focused. Governments are making surgical strikes, both literally with military hardware and figuratively with financial sanctions. And in this new, high-anxiety environment, the global playbook is being rewritten, not in a dusty library, but on the fly, in war rooms and boardrooms that look suspiciously similar. Welcome to the new normal, where your portfolio is a political statement and your passport is a risk assessment. So, how is the United States, the world's self-appointed protagonist, handling this chaotic new world? Well, it appears they've cooked up a strategy that's part chess master, part angry bouncer, and part paranoid prepper. It's a three-pronged approach that weaves together military might, economic muscle, and industrial strategy into one big, intimidating burrito of national security. And yes, it's just as messy and likely to fall apart as that sounds. But for now, it's the game plan everyone else on the planet is being forced to react to, whether they like it or not. The first step is the most visible and, let's be honest, the most Hollywood precision military action. This isn't about grand invasions anymore. It's about surgical strikes. Think less Saving Private Ryan and more the surgeon who is also a sniper. The US is demonstrating a willingness to use highly targeted force to eliminate specific threats or send a very loud, very explosive message without getting bogged down in a full-scale war. This approach is designed to be just enough to hurt, to deter, to remind everyone who's boss, but not enough to start World War III. Hopefully, it's a high-wire act performed with billion-dollar equipment over a pit of geopolitical crocodiles. The second prong of this trident is financial warfare. Yes, that's a thing. The US Treasury has effectively been weaponized. Through a complex web of sanctions, the government can now cripple a nation's economy, freeze the assets of its leaders, and cut off its banks from the global financial system with a few keystrokes. This is the quiet, devastating part of the plan. It doesn't make for a great action movie, but telling a country it can no longer use dollars is like telling a fish it can no longer use water. It's a powerful tool that makes an economic problem a national security crisis for the target nation, all without firing a single shot. Finally, there's the bring it all home part of the strategy, a process politely called onshoring or friendshoring. After decades of shipping manufacturing overseas to the cheapest bidder, the US has had a sudden realization, maybe, just maybe, it's not a great idea to have your entire supply of life-saving medicine or critical technology made in a country you might be in a diplomatic shouting match with next week. So through a mix of incentives and subtle pressure, there's a massive push to move key industries like semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, and green energy tech back to American soil, or at least to the soil of very, very good friends. It's an attempt to build a safer, more reliable economic backyard, insulated from the storms of global instability. Nowhere is this new blend of security and economics more potent and volatile than in the Middle East. The region is, as ever, a complex tapestry of ancient rivalries, modern ambitions, and vast, vast amounts of oil. Today, however, every development is being viewed through this new lens. A temporary ceasefire is announced, and the immediate follow-up questions aren't just about peace, but about investment. Will this fragile calm be enough for international banks to re-engage? Will shipping companies restart routes through nearby waters? Peace, it turns out, now has a stock price. Just this morning, we saw this play out in real time. Following a tense period, a shaky ceasefire was brokered. But almost simultaneously, news broke of a highly precise US military strike against a regional militia group that Washington accused of threatening commercial shipping lanes. This is the new diplomatic dance. One hand extends an olive branch while the other hand pilots a drone. The message is painfully clear. We want stability, but on our terms. And our terms include our cargo ships getting through unharmed. It's a policy that tries to have its cake and blow it up too. The reaction from the private sector was immediate and telling. Several major European banks, which had been cautiously considering re-entering a specific market in the region, announced they were pausing their plans, citing geopolitical uncertainty. At the same time, a major global airline rerouted its long-haul flights to add an hour of travel time, specifically to avoid the airspace near the conflict zone. These aren't political statements. They are cold, hard business decisions. The cost of risk, of a stray missile or a sudden escalation, is now being calculated on spreadsheets in Frankfurt and London, directly impacting balance sheets. To complete this chaotic picture, the US Treasury followed up by announcing a fresh round of tighter sanctions on entities believed to be funding the very militia group that was targeted. This move wasn't just punitive, it was economic containment. It aims to financially suffocate the group, cutting off its access to international funds and making it radioactive to any bank or company that might knowingly or not do business with it. So, within a 24-hour news cycle, we see military, diplomatic, and economic tools all being deployed in a coordinated effort to shape the region's future. It's a clear signal that in the Middle East, a barrel of oil and a barrel of a gun are now inextricably linked. This grand nervous recalibration isn't just an American production. Allies in Europe and the Indo-Pacific are also waking up and, well, smelling the cordite. For decades, many NATO countries treated their defense spending commitments like a gym membership they paid for, but rarely used. Now, suddenly, everyone is hitting the treadmill. Nations are scrambling to boost their defense budgets, not just to meet treaty obligations, but out of genuine, palpable anxiety. The abstract threat has become a real and present danger, and checkbooks are opening across the continent. This isn't just about buying more tanks, it's a fundamental shift in national priorities. This increased military spending is happening in lockstep with new economic policies. It's a whole-of-government approach. The same countries beefing up their armies are also passing legislation to protect their technology sectors, screen foreign investments, and secure their supply chains for everything from energy to electronics. In Europe, this means a renewed focus on energy independence, moving away from reliance on volatile neighbors. In the Indo-Pacific, countries like Japan and South Korea are pouring money into their domestic semiconductor industries, determined never again to be held hostage by a global chip shortage. Defense and economic self-sufficiency are now two sides of the same coin. The strategic maneuvering is also becoming more visible. The United States is increasing its military presence in the Indo-Pacific, conducting more joint exercises with allies like Australia and the Philippines. These aren't just war games. They are carefully choreographed signals to potential adversaries. Every naval patrol in the South China Sea is a statement. Every joint Air Force drill is a projection of power. It's a geopolitical ballet where the dancers are billion-dollar destroyers and stealth fighters, and the performance is meant to ensure that key shipping lanes, the arteries of the global economy, remain open and secure. This new reality is also creating a new kind of alliance. The old rigid treaties of the Cold War are being supplemented by more flexible, issue-based partnerships. You might see the United States, Japan, and the Netherlands team up on a policy to restrict adversary access to chip-making technology. Or you could see the United Kingdom, Australia, and the United States collaborating on nuclear submarine technology through AUKUS. These aren't all-encompassing alliances, but targeted teams assembled for specific purposes. It's a more agile, pragmatic form of global teamwork, built not on shared history, but on shared immediate interests. The world is forming project-based friend groups, and the main project is survival. In times of uncertainty, money doesn't just talk, it runs. And right now, we are witnessing a massive global migration of capital away from ambiguity and towards something that looks like safety. This isn't your typical stock market fluctuation. It's a deeper, more structural shift in how and where the world's wealth is being stored and invested. Businesses and banks are rapidly changing their strategies, driven by a simple, primal need to protect their assets from the crossfire of geopolitical conflict. The new mantra for global investors is, safety first, return second. The first major trend is a massive pivot toward private investment and away from public markets. Why? Because public companies are exposed, transparent, and vulnerable to the whims of international politics and sanctions. Private equity, on the other hand, is more discreet. It allows for more control, less public scrutiny, and the ability to make long-term bets in quieter, less volatile corners of the economy. Wealth is flowing into private funds that invest in things like infrastructure, logistics, and digital assets, the unglamorous but essential plumbing of the modern world, which tends to operate below the radar of most geopolitical drama. Secondly, money is chasing stable energy. With conflicts disrupting traditional energy flows, the spotlight has swung dramatically toward regions that are perceived as reliable and have a lot of energy to sell. This is why you're seeing a surge of Western capital heading towards energy-rich nations in the Middle East that have managed to position themselves as stable partners. Investors are betting that in a world hungry for power, the countries controlling the spigots will have both economic leverage and a vested interest in maintaining regional calm. It's a pragmatic, if slightly cynical, bet on the enduring power of hydrocarbons. Finally, the nature of business itself is changing. The focus is shifting from just-in-time efficiency to just-in-case resilience. Companies are now prioritizing strong balance sheets, healthy cash flows, and diversified supply chains. They are willing to sacrifice some profit margin for the security of knowing they can weather a storm. This means holding more inventory, sourcing components from multiple countries, and investing heavily in cybersecurity. The ultimate goal is to build a business that is less a sleek speedboat and more a sturdy icebreaker, capable of navigating the treacherous new waters of the global economy without sinking. The age of hyper-efficiency is over. The age of hyper-resilience has begun.